Okay. All right. Welcome to DnDeBrief. This is DM Samuel, and I'm here with 3 of my players. If you'll introduce yourselves real quick, we'll start with Matt.
Hello, I'm Matt. I'm playing Konos, the CL Forlock.
And Nina.
Hi, I'm Nina, and I'm playing Emerin Ornestra, who's a human Tempest Cleric.
And Karu.
Hi, I'm Hikaru, and I'm playing Marcel Petitiab Duran, the Lutrinian Storm Sorcerer.
Excellent. And so you'll notice that the 4th player, David, who used to play Axley Tillingquest, the Halfling Bard, is not with us. And that's actually a discussion that we need to have because David has left the game. And so this is kind of a pre-debrief. Normally we do them at the end of the session, but we'll do them at the beginning this time. And so he has some personal things that are happening, and he just could no longer commit to this being in the stream every other Sunday. So he has left the game relatively abruptly. We didn't get much warning. So what that leaves us with is a situation where we need to talk about as a group what we're going to do about that seat, because we have several options. In my mind, we are pretty close to the end of the game, the end of the campaign, at least this particular campaign. And so that means that, there's only 4 or 5 sessions left, and it's a little bit difficult to bring a new person in at such a high level without them having a lot of, background and whatnot. Although it still is an option. It feels like it's not much of one, but it is an option. Or, then there's the question of what we do with his character. So I figured that maybe it might be a good debrief topic to talk about this sort of thing with respect to this game in particular, what we're going to do with him. And then also just with respect to gaming in general, what happens when a player leaves a game for whatever reason. So anybody have any thoughts? Don't all talk at once.
We're just going to leave an awkward pause here long enough for...
and eventually it'll all work itself out. We had some... So I think we individually had some discussions kind of offline as far as options for what happens to his character in-game. I think we mentioned, he... See, let me pull my notes back. Basically, saying he had mentioned wanting to spend more time, I think, with studying things in the library. So that could potentially be an option, as far as that's essentially physically where his character goes, and potentially as it becomes like an NPC resource should we need to use that for anything. Essentially, it's like a way for us to get things out of the library without having to go there ourselves.
Right. Okay, that's a good option. What do you two think
I think
about
the one, the option I had talked about, which kind of works with the library one, unless we know communication to the library isn't that bad. Have him be the one, essentially pulling the plug, or at least keeping track of when the army of undead show up near the town to drain the pool and wreck their day.
Okay. So at the end of the last episode, there was a situation where the party was trying to figure out how long they should wait before they say the command phrase and cause the reversal of the sinking. And part of the discussion was, let's try to warn or I guess part of the decision actually was, let's try to warn as many people as possible. And so since we're going to warn as many people as possible, we're going to send out sort of convoys or people up ahead. Like, I think you sent, 4 Haka or something in the cardinal directions?
Was it 4 or 3? No, it was 3, because it's a harbor. So 1 directly out and 2 to the sides.
Okay.
To cover the horizon, basically. Right. Enough away so that they can drain it and hopefully strand the army on land.
Yeah, and so the idea was those individuals would be keeping watch and would send back a signal as soon as possible when they saw the approaching undead army swimming towards them. The undead army from the vision that you all saw so many eons ago.
What's that, like 3rd session?
Yeah, maybe 4th. I don't really quite remember, but it was when you went down and the lens got activated and it showed you the image of who you now know is Laralac leading the charge of an undead army.
Because that was in the Haka mud temple that we saw that.
No, that was in the temple under the crab.
Oh, was it?
Island.
I thought we had just seen his like laboratory the first time.
Oh, yes, you're right. So it was in the Haka. It was in the Haka temple of mud. Yeah.
A couple months later, but
yeah. So still feels like eons ago. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there's that. So we leave him in the library, right? Or we leave him.
I mean, both works because
yeah.
Have him in the library waiting for that moment, and then him pulling the plug and coming out to help deal with the repercussions of the army until we get back. Right. And that's always assuming we don't get back in time. So
Right. Any other options? There was something that was discussed, I think, either in Discord or when we were chatting about possibly leaving him on the boat with Sabatine to sort of be the generals of the army when the fight shows up.
I mean, that's an option. I think, given the setup we put of having out like people looking out, having him in the library on hand, so near the entrance, so he doesn't have to scramble too far, and then once he gets the alert from the sending, just go down to the harbor and grab a boat to go to Sabatine's ship, and help out as he can. Works. So basically all 3 options, A, B, C. All of the above. Let's just get all the use out of him.
Yeah. Okay.
Assuming he survives long enough to give us any information he found in the library, of course, but right. We're hoping he doesn't die till we get back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options to it, right? I mean, he could go with you, or he could go with Dalencia when she goes to find Blacksley. If you go with her, that would mean he would be going with you. Or you could go do something else while he went and did that. I mean, so there are other options to keep him an active part of the events, but off screen, other than just being the library contact. I've been kicking things around in my head for several days, but I really feel like this should be a group decision. So, just because I didn't have, because he left unexpectedly, I didn't already have a trajectory for, I mean, so there were some things that were going to happen, but if the player was here, he could be playing the character, and then that would be what happened. But because he's not here, I'm not going to put the character in those situations necessarily. because I'm not going to narrate for you what he would have done because I don't know what he would have done in certain situations. So that's kind of off the table. But it's not necessary to make him a very static figure. We could send him off to do something if you need him to go off and do something. But we can also just leave him in the library if you want to leave him in the library. But, if you have any other
I think
ideas.
it's still useful for us if he's collecting information. I can't remember what we were planning to collect from the library, to be fair. Because, the other option in terms of sending him off on a separate adventure that I can think of at least would be seeing if he can find either the Wyvern Lair or the other sage that we wanted to contact, Allegrey Hammer, I think it was.
Yeah.
See if he could find Allegrey Hammer for whatever information we can mine from that, because
Yeah.
that's on the same continent. Or it was on
the
same
seminary of Saint Abdar.
Yeah, we had the location of the seminary, and he could go to that as well.
So, what do you think, Nina?
I also kind of had the idea that maybe he could go with Dalencia. I'm not 100% sure if that's what I would want to do, though, just because I feel like we don't really know what Blacksley is doing, so I feel like we should maybe be the ones to kind of run interference, just because there's more of us. But I don't know, I feel like a lot of those options are good options. I feel like there's a lot to be done that he can do. I didn't even think about Allegrey Hammond or anybody, so that's a really good idea too. But again, if it makes it a little simpler to leave him in the city so that he can be aware of what's going on and just kind of act as our eyes while we're gone, that is really helpful. But I don't know, there's a lot of good options.
Essentially, it's sort of becoming how many loose ends do we need to tie up, and how many can potentially we use Axley to do.
Right.
But we stay focused on main task.
Yeah. So let's table that for a second, and let's talk about, as a debrief topic, the effect of a player leaving a long-standing campaign. We've been playing since, June 2019? July 2019? Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah, we've been playing for a year and a half. And we've generally been playing about every 2 weeks. There were a couple of months where we only played once a month for whatever reason. There was actually a month where we played 3 times. But ultimately it's about every 2 weeks, not counting holidays. So for 18 months, you're playing twice a month. We've got 36 3-hour sessions, 36 4-hour sessions, something like that, give or take. This is actually, in my numbering, this is actually session 38. But a couple of those, a couple of those were when I was chopping things up and trying to do hour-long sessions, and that didn't really work out. So it's actually really like session 34 or something like that. But in other words, to make my point, we've had 34 4-hour sessions. And so, I think it's something that is not necessarily all that rare that a player leaves a campaign after some amount of time. And I think that it's different whether they leave early or sort of in the middle or leave late. The choices are different, and maybe the thoughts and feelings are different. So I know, Nina, you don't have a ton of experience because you're a relatively new player. But I know that Karu and Matt both have lots of experience like I do. And so you've been in groups that have lost a player, or perhaps you've been a player that has left, a group. I've been a player that's left a group. I've also had people leave groups, and as a DM, I've had to kick people out of groups. Just to make it perfectly clear to the audience, that is not what happened here. I did not have to ask David to leave. He left of his own volition, and there's no hard feelings, and we all wish him the best, and there was no big fight or blow up or anything like that. It just, things happened, and he had to leave the game. But I have actually been in groups where I've had to ask a person to leave because they didn't mesh well with the group. They were disruptive. They didn't have the same goals as the rest of the party seemed to have, the rest of the players seemed to have. And I've also left groups because it turns out they didn't want to play the type of game I wanted to play. And in every single case that has ever happened to me, it's always been a very tough decision. So, I don't know. I just want to put that out there if anybody has any comments related to that.
I've actually been on the opposite end. I've been the person joining a group that is endgame.
Really?
And that was my first game of D&D, so it was really awkward.
Wow.
I wasn't even the girlfriend. I was just a friend at that point of that. Like, I had just met the group because they were geeks and I was a geek, and they were like, "Hey, you want to try D&D?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" It's weird because, like, yeah, sure. In character, it's not too hard because, like, your character's also joining this group of seasoned adventurers that are, you know, end game fighting bosses, and you just happen to stumble upon them and have to somehow quickly get up to date of what's going on to help them. And I think that, like, that's part of the whole problem with, like, end game leaving, just both on the side of, well, what do you do with the rest of the players and their characters, and explaining away or dealing with the fact that one of the characters has become an NPC effectively.
Right.
But even more so, I think the problem is anyone else who can take that seat has so much to go through in terms of story, or the group has to make the decision of being like, well, your character doesn't necessarily know everything. Here's the basics of what's happening in the world, and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's the other aspect of that you're making me think of too, is the issue of this is a completely homebrew world. So
exactly,
it's not even like the person who's going to replace not even like a person coming in replacing someone could actually go like buy the world book and read this 20 pages that tells you all about this background. Like, that's not,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, in my case, I was joining a Dragonlance campaign, and I had already read the Dragonlance books, so at least I knew the world. I knew how the world worked, so I had that going for me at least.
Yeah.
I didn't know what these guys were up to, but
right. Matt, you were going to say something.
Yeah.
I was saying, my experience has been similar to Sam's. I mean, I've played a few groups. There was one that I had basically my husband and I both played in like a Storm King Thunder game several years ago. We both wound up ultimately leaving that game before it finished for our own reasons. But it was kind of it's a situation where, you know, little things kind of kept happening where we both kind of realized we're not having a good time with the people or the DM, or it's just not a good fit. And it just came to this point, you know, we're not having fun. It's not something we look forward to. And we both wound up leaving. Now we did, you know, make an effort to try to talk with the DM prior to, and a few times say, hey, you know, we're having some issues with X, Y, or Z, because these things that can be addressed. And the DM, you know, said they would, but never really fully did so to either our satisfaction. So it was a case that we just had to leave. Decide, you know, it's just not fun. It's not something we want to continue with, and we let the DM let the DM know, hey, you know, we're not going to be continuing. On the flip side, and I've been DMing a game with it's been the same campaign that's been going on for about 4 years. At least, because on average we play once a month, so it's been more stretched out. But that started off with 8 or 9 different people, because I was dumb and it was the first time I'd ever DM'd a campaign. So yeah, I'm like, hey, if Critical Role can do 8 people, why not? They make it look easy. Nope. So that's the first thing on my list of things I'll never do as a DM. But anyway, point is, in the time that game has been going on, that I've had people leave that game, come out of that game, come into that game, start it, leave, come back months later, a couple of years later, and make a completely new character, and then leave again. I had one person, like Sam said, I had to ask them to step out because I just, same reason, it wasn't a good fit. They weren't taking it seriously, and it just wasn't really fun for anybody. So I'd say I could probably make at least maybe two more full campaigns with the number of people who have come in and out of that game. But for the most part, it's been, just either timing or life changing and not people's schedules changing, and just it's not a good, it just doesn't work for them anymore, unfortunately. But for the most part, nobody has flat out just up and vanished on me. Thankfully. But it's never fun, and it always makes you wonder. Kind of leaves you wondering, well, what could I have done differently, or what could I have done to try to do more to make it fun for everybody, or reach out more, or be more communicative. And sometimes you just have to realize, even if you had done everything you possibly could have done, it still might have happened, and that's just reality, and you find ways to move on.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I think that's almost the ever-present feeling is, oh, I wish I could have done something different to make that just be ever so slightly changed, to make it better for all involved, to make it maybe so that didn't happen. And most of the time, though, the conclusion is there's really not anything that could have been done, at least not by then, not by the time the person's leaving. Like you, when you talked about you and your husband going and actually talking to the GM and saying, hey, we're having these issues, and can that be at least slightly shifted so that maybe it's not a bad situation for us anymore? And then if that, then at least there's a chance there to fix that. But in a lot of cases, there's no real chance to fix things in my experience. There's also, like, this particular campaign that we're in right now is this really huge long-standing campaign with a crap ton of lore. That's the technical term. And it just has this whole history, and so it's really hard to, it's a very specific type of campaign. There are also ways to play the game where you're playing in a kind of more West Marches style, where you have a setting and things are happening, and so you have lots of players kind of on the roster, and whoever can show up for game night shows up, and those people play characters. And you pick characters. Everybody has 2 or 3 different characters. You don't play all at the same time. It's just that, you show up, and if most of the people that show up, they want to play their 5th level character, then you play a 5th level sort of scenario that night, or 5th level, issue is dealt with that night. And, on the other hand, if you got 2 new people and you've got 3 other people, well, then you might be playing a 1st level scenario. But it's sort of depends on who shows up and which characters want to get played and what storylines are currently active and stuff like that. And then there's a way to play where you don't have everybody with 3 or 4 different characters. Instead, you set up the campaign such that it is like episodic, right? So like every session is more like an episode of a television show. And so this works, if you think of something like, not like Game of Thrones, where each episode, builds on the other. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean episodic, like a Star Trek show, right? Where that show is completely all-encompassing. From the start of that episode to the end of that episode, you finish the entire storyline for the most part. Now, there are some overarching themes that run through all of those, as we know. But for the most part, most of those episodes are self-contained. And so you can actually set up a campaign that works like that, where everything is kind of self-contained. And that way, if somebody leaves, they just leave in between episodes, and it's a lot easier to deal with. But that's not the kind of campaign this one is either. So, it's a little bit more difficult to deal with losing a player in the middle of a campaign or at the end of a campaign when you've got this big lead up to it. So, but Nina, you've been very quiet. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting that kind of got brought up, because we actually, so I started my campaign very recent, or soon after we started DnDeBrief, and we've only done like 14 or so sessions. just because we're all in college, we're all students, we're all trying to figure life out, and then the pandemic hit, and that's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that we're talking about that because I originally had 4 players. It got bumped up to 7. One left, like, just kind of ghosted. He was very new to the game, and he actually enlisted into the army, so he just left.
Oh, wow.
Which wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just been kind of weird, and we finally actually had a session with like it is actually still 7 people because one of the players brought their boyfriend who wants to start the game. I think the big thing is that like this was the first D&D game in our friend group, so like everybody wants to kind of be a part of it. Like, oh hey, can I bring this person? Oh hey, can I bring this person? So we've kind of had people like in and out, and it has been really hard to kind of figure out how to do that. So we haven't been playing this game long enough for someone to like leave towards the end of the game. But just knowing how difficult it is to kind of like try and make things work and like brief everybody on what's happening. And I ended up making an info sheet like you did, Sam, for us because people like one of our players hasn't been there for 3 months and he has no idea what's going on, but he really wants to play again. So he's coming back and, you know, and just knowing how difficult that is, like, I can imagine that a player leaving at the very end of the game is probably extremely difficult. And then you have, again, are you going to bring someone else into play for a couple of sessions and brief them on everything? Or do they know very little and they're just kind of helping? So yeah, I give you props for all handling it as much as you have. And, you know, I think it is a skill that you got to learn because it is part of the game. People come and go, and sometimes it's on great terms. Sometimes it's fine. Like David just had stuff like other stuff that he needed to do and such, but sometimes it's not. And like asking people to leave, I can imagine is really difficult. So I think it's,
definitely.
I'm a little, that's topic, but yeah, it's hard. And I give you all props.
Now, can I?
It's a lot of fun, but
your game that you're running, are you running a published module, or are you making something up on your own, or you're doing your own homebrew? Yeah, that's even harder.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, it's a lot of fun because I do get to pull on a lot of strings, and I'm just like, ooh, this would fit really well here, and I can like tailor it to the players. Because I had no idea what I was doing when I started, so I was just like, yeah. But you know, it's fun, it's difficult, but you know, at the end of the day, again, this was a pre-established friend group that I had, so like we all know each other, we all just like, you know, have fun, and like there have been times where they're just like, hey, can we play D&D this week? And I'm like, I have nothing prepared, but sure, I'll go ahead and wing it. And they get eaten by a giant fish and go through a little fish dungeon inside the belly of a whale.
Nice.
Yeah, perfect.
4 hours, and you know, they pull some absolutely ridiculous crap, and you know, it's not exactly by the rules, but it's fun, and we all laugh, and you know, that's just kind of how the game goes.
Nice.
That's what
I think
counts.
there's up and downs for homebrew versus modules when it comes to players coming and leaving, because homebrew, you have a lot more options. Like we just thought of a bunch of options for our game. If you're in a module, there's probably options to what you do with the character itself, but then the DM has to worry about balance if they're not replacing the character, because most published modules expect a group of at least like 4 to 5 players. So if you're down to 3 players, suddenly encounters that are supposed to be just, you know, random encounters become deadly encounters, especially if, like, depending on who left, right? Because if it's the cleric, then suddenly they can't heal as much. If it's the barbarian, suddenly they don't have a tank. I don't know, if the warlock left, suddenly it's taking them 10 turns to do what they could do in 5 turns because they're missing the firepower. And that's a lot harder with modules because everything's pre-baked in, and now you're suddenly scrambling to decide if you have to delete 1 enemy or 2 enemies, or if it's fine as it is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes in a module, you're in a position where there's really not an easy way to bring a new character in. So you have to
Yeah.
wait anyway until they get out of that particular chapter or part of the story. And then you can bring a new character in, but you still had to do all of the prep work and all of the everything anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know I've had to come up with some unique ways of either taking people in or taking people out, or putting people, bringing people in sometimes on the fly. There was one character I had to, when their time in the game came to an end, essentially, and it was on good terms. Just schedules weren't working anymore. But when their time came to an end, they were playing a Goliath. So Goliath, there's a thing in Goliath in official D&D lore, they're native to mountain regions. So I essentially came up with something where it's like, okay, he essentially got a form of altitude sickness. He had been at too low of an altitude for too long, and so he had to essentially get airlifted by a druid NPC that the party had recently met, to literally to turn into a giant eagle, and flew him and airlifted him up to a mountain range just so he could essentially recuperate. So that was just something I sort of came up with on the fly, and on the pun intended. But it makes sense. It fits the I guess the story that's going on, and it's just a sort of a quick and clean and efficient way to resolve things, more or less.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me that I do have a campaign where I lost someone recently, and the effects in game as well of like suddenly character vanishes, possibly right before an important mission, say storming a castle, and the repercussions for that character in terms of the other characters being like, whoa, what a dick, this character just left our most dire need time. And it's like, yeah, unfortunately. They had suddenly called away because something was happening elsewhere that they really needed to get to.
Yeah. Our one tank left us.
Yeah. And then, like, I think it was the very next session that you guys ended up TPKing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's the story effect, right? But then you're right. Then there's the mechanical issue of, I mean, I spent my prep time today, like, trying to figure out, okay, well, first, what do I think you guys are going to do? Like, I have no idea what you're going to do now. Like, I don't know where you're going next, just in general. And even if David was still here with us, I still would not know. So that was something that was going to be there anyway. But then I had to think about, okay, well, but now there's only 3 of you. So now I have to think about how to set things up that make sense for 3 individuals versus 4 individuals. And the thing about 5th edition D&D is it is more so than something like 4th edition, where the characters are all very hardy and all have a way to heal themselves and all have some amount of defenses. In 5th edition, even at the higher levels, some characters are still relatively squishy. I mean, you've got a lot of hit points, you've got a lot of actions you can take, but ultimately the action economy is such that if there are too many opponents on the field, so to speak, you are going to be at a distinct disadvantage because there's only 3 of you. And so, the fact that that you're all basic casters, right? Like, I know the cleric has a little bit of battle prowess, but by now the cleric is also much more reliant on spells, right? And so here's the problem with that. We're not starting the battle 180 meters away so that you've got time to get off a whole bunch of spells. Like, when you start a battle, you're relatively close together, and if you only get one turn before all of the other enemies are close enough to you that you can't really make good use of your spells without putting yourself in real danger, that completely changes the entire calculus of the actual battle, right? And now it's kind of funny to be talking about this right now because this is such a low combat game, but you're getting to the point where you're going to have to go face Laralak, and you're going to have to go face Shamasa Hasid, and you're going to be facing a giant army of undead swimming things, and you're going to be facing other things, and So I still have to think about that. I can't just throw at you what I would have thrown at you if there were 4 or 5 of you.
Yeah.
And so it is a real consideration.
We are hoping for the distance, though, in terms of the army.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
let you know. I'll take that under advisement. Yeah.
180 miles.
There's
not
a
180
reason we
meters.
sent the Hawk out as lookouts.
Yeah.
True.
But I think that's interesting for our group too, because like you said, not only are we're all casters, which means economy of action. We have one action per turn. We don't have
Right.
double attack.
Right.
So even there, like if our one spell failed, that's it. That's all we had. Where we can't action surge, we can't try again. Besides possibly like the 2 of us that have Eldritch Blast, we have one and done if we hit or not, and that affects a lot in terms of economy of action.
Right. And you don't have anyone to soak up the powers
Damage.
of the other opponents, right? So
Yeah.
it's not even
No,
as
that's been a
if-
problem we've had since day one, because
Right.
our tank is the cleric. That's about it.
That's right. That's right.
And Denbrin has gone down.
Right, but the thing is, if you have 4 or 5 PCs, you can actually deal with that in a little more creative ways. With only 3 of you, there's only so much you can do to, ameliorate the effect of just having more opponents than 3 people. And if
and then there's the problem that our tank is the cleric, like I said. We lost our bard. So who's going to pick up the cleric now?
Right, exactly, yeah. I mean, if you look at the, you're assuming that Laralac is a lich, right? So if we pull out our trusty monster manual and we look at the lich stat block, right?
I've never seen the Lich stat block. Why would you read that to me?
Just for GP here. If I could find it. Here we go. So here's the Lich, right? Now, you're level 15. The Lich is a CR 21 creature. Now, as I said, you're assuming he's a Lich, right? So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we don't know for sure.
You're assuming. You don't know for sure. But let's presume if you were to do some research in the library, if you were to have Axley send you some research in the library about liches, here's what you would learn. You would learn that they're spellcasters, okay? Which means the lich is going to also not necessarily engage you hand to hand, but they're not just going to be there by themselves. They're going to have minions in front of them blocking them and soaking up that damage. That's the benefit you don't have because there's only 3 of you. And you'll also learn that he can paralyze. He has legendary actions that allow him to do a frightening gaze, right? So he could make you run away. He could... Oh, if you're within 20 feet of him, you have to make a DC 18 Constitution saving throw against his Disrupt Life action if he chooses to use it. It's a lair action. Which, if you fail the DC 18, think about that, DC, even at 15th level, a DC 18 con save is hard, right? Mm-hmm. And you take 6d6 damage, necrotic damage, and half on a save. That's his lair action. That's not even an action he takes as part of his turn.
That's why you don't fight a lich in its lair.
Right, but,
No,
but I'm
don't.
just saying, right? So when you're talking about action economy, there are things that the higher level creatures have that make it so that they have a much easier time dealing within that action economy. They have, effects that take place on certain counts in initiative, or they have effects that allow them to do more than one thing, right? As you were saying, you're all casters, so it's not like you can sit there and cast 3 spells, right? You can cast 1 spell, and whatever. So like it becomes a question of how dangerous is this going to be for the group, in terms of what's happening. And that's something, as the whole reason I'm bringing this up is that's something that, aside from the issue of losing a player and having a bit of story to deal with and having to decide what happens, to that actual PC, aside from just the whole interpersonal thing of, wow, I lost a player, that there's some things there that as a human being, right, when you spend 2 Sundays a month hanging out with somebody for a year and a half, to suddenly have that person gone is hard. It's something to deal with, right? From an interpersonal perspective, it's something we have to deal with. But aside from that, just in terms of the pure mechanics of the game, the DM also has to deal with not just the fact that a PC is missing and there's a story hole there, but also the mechanical effect of, here we have a situation where, because it's end game, you're about to go up against some real bad mofos, and now you're at a huge deficit. So the reason I bring this up, other than just because this is part of the debrief, but you're going to have to think about maybe getting some help, because you don't have, and you haven't had to have any kind of retainers or hirelings or henchmen or anything up till now, right? You have accidentally had some at times, because Konos is the Haka. So, you've had the Haka at your disposal for various times, and you've had different elements of groups of people at your disposal. You had, some guards in the castle, in the royal manor in Cowport, were taking orders basically from you. Going down, and when Imran went down and did the healing in the town, people would do what she said. And, so there have been elements of that a little bit throughout the whole game. Being the captain of the ship, being second in command of the ship, you give orders, right? And so the people on the ship do what you say. So there has been a little bit of that, but it's kind of been off screen up until now. Now there might be an element of, okay, we need to bring that to the forefront so that we have some meat shields basically in front of us. Right. So that's something you might want to think about as you're preparing to go on your next missions, right? So any other thoughts about that, and then we'll get going with the game if there's no thoughts about that. No? Okay. So I need to take a 2-second break because my wife is hollering at me from the other room. So give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to throw us over to the break screen real quick, and then I'll be right back. So
At the blockade,
Yeah.
or at least Sabatine. Well, yeah, the problem is Sabatine's in the blockade, and Sharkface is kind of helping lead our forces.
Tobik might help.
we're back on, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yes, Lord Tobik was one of my options for that. to be fair, they might not like the idea of the queen going somewhere without a knight to protect her.
Okay, so I'm back. We're back. Sorry about that. Everything's fine. Just one of those things. So what were you talking about? How to get some frontline support?
Yeah, we were talking about, because I think it seems like we're, like, as far as I know, we're still going to the Soul Forge with Dalencia. And if the queen's going to the Soul Forge, then I can imagine that her knights, especially Lord Tobik, would be like, "You're not going alone."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily trust these three. They look kind of squishy. None of them's wearing armor. Well, okay, the cleric's wearing armor, but still. So one or two knights to, even on the premise of protecting the queen from any harm. I don't know how we're going to the Soul Forge, though, and how many people we can fit in the Curiosity, if that's our means of transport, though. It was a cramped fit, and both myself and our missing friend were smaller beings.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You're both smaller.
Well, as far as getting there, if I can get something that's tuned properly, I can get us to there.
I can get us out.
Okay.
We got in and out. That's great.
Okay, so what's your plan? Actually, does anybody want to do a recap?
Oh, that's probably important.
So we had gone to the Red Plateau / the Nine Hells, to essentially, and we made a deal with the devil, to obtain a special sword that was on the verge of being completed and given to another basically we made a deal with one devil to mess up the deal with another archdevil. So to go and retrieve this sword as it was being forged and being completed. And when we got there, we found they were using like a very, very powerful and unpleasant demon as a battery for making the forge work. And through a whole lot of guile and deceit and tying down the Baylor when it tried to break free, we were basically able to get in, get out, get the sword, and get out, and get back to, and basically fulfill our end of the bargain. And then we returned to the library, the spire room. We found that there was a new entry in the Book of Proofs regarding the one of these two like very, very powerful swords, Nagoles or Celagon backwards, basically. And then we basically learned that Blacksley had gone missing in the library, and we were all kind of wondering where he had gone to. And I think that was the point. He said, he needs Dalencia to go to the Soulspire, and he knows what his purpose now is.
And you went through the auditorium and you found Gaston down on the ground, having been bitten by something.
By a book.
I think he was attacked by the book. It got free and started biting him and attacking him. And you came to the conclusion that something was happening with the magic inside the library. And then Tavros told you that, well, there's more people using it, so it becomes more powerful or more active. The magic becomes more powerful and active when more people use it. So that happened. What happened to the forge, the person who was making the weapon at the forge?
Oh, we fucked him over. Real bad.
He's probably dead. His soul's probably forfeit.
He had made a Solgrimud had made a contract with Dalencia.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, oh, finish the sword and then you're free, but you have to bring it to me first. And so we tricked him and said, oh, we're going to bring it to her. And he's like, oh, as soon as you do that, I'm going to be free. And then we didn't do that.
I mean, to be fair, I also kind of helped the Battler free himself. So he may have just died there. His soul's already gone to Glacia.
Yeah.
Unless he managed to escape there somehow.
I'm surprised no one said, hey, why don't you come with us to deliver the sword to Glacia?
Yeah, but then he'd figure it out at some point and be like, oh, you betrayed me, and we'd have to deal with possibly Glacia coming after him and his soul.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we kind of damned someone.
Yeah. I don't think my patron is very happy about that.
No.
Not my patron, my goddess.
At least the rest.
Because every time I kill someone, it hits me. Oh, yeah, that might be a problem.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm chaotic neutral. I never said I was good. It's on my sheet right there. I've never pretended to be a good person.
I tried, kind of. But I was slightly also really worried about that Baylor, and it was about to come loose, and yeah.
So the other thing that happened was where Imran had signed the contract with the devil, that finger reacted when the book creature was being restrained. And a drop of Imran's blood caused it to calm down, but then that finger wouldn't stop bleeding. And it burned.
Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah. So there's something happening there that's maybe not so great. But yeah, I think that's everything that happened, right? I don't think we missed anything. So the question is then, what do you want to do now?
Well, the last thing that happened was us coming back and talking to the queens about everything we had done, getting them up to date on stuff. We planned out what we were planning to do, sending 3 Haka ships out to a distance out of the bay to keep an eye out for an undead army and have them. We had 3 sending scrolls made up for them so that they can contact us and let us know when they spot the army. And their orders were to, as soon as they spot the army, send the message and then flee back to the harbor so that when the water's drained, they're not caught out in the open. So we have that.
Who made those scrolls for you?
That was our friend. Cat, stop it.
It was Hubertus.
Hubertus, yeah. Oh God. I keep tossing him off and he just jumps back up.
He knows it's
cat.
snack time.
It's not snack time, Cat. You don't get fed till late. So that was done. And then when we told Dalencia that the message we had been given from Chilling Quest that Nagalos must be dispatched with Dalencia, she was like, oh, that means I have to go to the Soul Forge. And we were like, wait, what? And we decided that once we had, contacted as many people as we could and gotten the word, Cat, please, started to spread about getting off or out of the ocean, we'd go with Dalencia to help with that and figure out what Chilling Quest was up to and hopefully keep the queen from dying, because that would not be ideal. Okay, come on. Seriously. He's going to jump up again. There he is.
Is there anything that you want to do before you accompany Dalencia to what she's referring to as the Soul Forge?
I don't... Well, we have everything else in motion. We were just talking before we started about the possibility of, at the very least, asking Lord Tobik to come along as protection both for Dalencia and us. Act as a first line defense, so that it's not just us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Lord Tobik would say no to protecting his queen, her queen. Everything else was set in motion at the end of last episode, I think, in terms of setting everything up and sending out the messages, including to Marcel's people, who apparently heard about the sword.
I mean, there was we basically had a pretty heated discussion with the queen about, well, we have a way to undo this thinking, but we want to essentially warn the world first. And she was pretty insistent on just do it already and be done with it. We essentially managed to buy some time to essentially spread this message using as many networks and resources and contacts as we have, which isn't a lot, but. And we're basically, I think, confronting the notion that, no matter what we try to do, this is going to be a world-shattering event, and we're not going to be able to warn probably everybody in time.
Right.
We had set 7 days as our max limit, but we were going to pull the plug earlier as soon as the army came within sight. And the idea was to have the Haka out at a distance so that if we pulled the plug, there was a decent chance to strand the army at the very least, strand them on land and not in the lake that we're assuming is going to return to being a lake once the water starts to drain.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of assumptions there, but we're working with the information we have.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just making sure that the other ships are all within the harbor so they don't get dragged out to sea.
Okay. I'm looking for a specific thing.
I think the cat finally gave up on trying to bug me.
You've just jinxed it now. He's just biding his time.
He's needing the blanket back there, so.
Why is this not here?
I am glad I have pure open space to that side, so I can just toss him. He's not going to hit anything. He'll land just fine.
Sorry, I'm looking for something in specifically that I cannot find all of a sudden. I just had it before. Isn't that how it always works?
Yep.
That's
Yeah, once I tried to, I was basically tossing him over my shoulder onto the bed. But at one point he decided that he wanted to land on the ground, but I was tossing him to the bed. So he ended up slamming face first into the side of the bed. So I've stopped doing that. He was fine, but I wasn't going to do that again. So now he just gets tossed into the open space. He can decide where he wants to land without hitting anything. What you need to find is never in the place you want to look.
No, it never is. Okay.
What? Go lay down on your blanket, cat. This is the advantage of listening to the podcast version versus watching it live.
Right, is that you get all of this cut out. Yeah, sorry. I am okay, so you are, who are you asking to go with you? Lord Tobik.
Lord Tobik to go with Dalencia so that
Anyone else?
well, if we're not using the curiosity for this outing, then I suppose we could ask if anyone else, like if Dalencia wants to take anyone else.
I mean, she doesn't want to go anywhere without at least 4 elite guards.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the
I'm
max.
assuming she has something there.
Good.
Say that again, Nina.
I'm assuming she has something there because she was the one that offered this trip to us, so I'm assuming she has some kind of plan on how to get there. So she might be able to transport her own people.
What were you going to say, Matt?
Say like with plane shift, the most that we can take is 9. That's including the 3 of us.
Okay.
So she could potentially take Lord Tobik and 4 guards.
Question is, if Blacksley's already there and we want to bring him back, how do we do that?
Word of recall, only up to 5. So I can only bring 5 people back. That's a problem.
Is it though?
I mean,
yeah, I mean it could be, right?
I apologize. I'm looking at spells. I've been looking at spells this entire time, so I'm sorry. I'm not engaged.
Okay.
But I have a lot more spells.
The other thing we could ask is if Hubertus can make a spell scroll of plane shift so that we have a way back without a... Because
I have plane shift.
Or you can take plane shift instead of word of recall. It does mean reserving that spell slot.
Yeah. I would need a forked metal rod worth at least 250 gold, attuned to this plane, and I can shift 9 people. Again, if Axley's already there, Blacksley's already there, that might be a problem. But what are the odds that someone's gonna die?
Pretty high.
Are there any, out of curiosity, are there any teleportation circles? I mean, other than in the library, are there any teleportation circles in the city, like elsewhere in the city?
So in the Abbey.
Because maybe instead of we could just ask for like a teleportation circle scroll, and that could bring everybody. Essentially,
That's just that's fair. And Hubertus will more than likely have teleportation circle because he's the main wizard of the castle.
Well, but no one was allowed to.
But that was
teleport.
after the sinking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Hubertus is a lot older than that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he may not have it prepared, but he probably has it in his spell book.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, no one is different than the queen needs to use the teleportation circle.
Yeah, he says it. He pretty much gets to do it.
That is true. You have a point.
No magic cast seems to not apply to Hubertus either, so...
Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking for something. Again, I seem to... That's what I'm doing the whole time nowadays, apparently.
It's the problem with longer campaigns.
Right.
The amount of notes. Yeah, here I am realizing that a lot of my spell choices were considering my friend's spell choices, and now we're a bard short.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any bard spells that I could have taken instead that we're missing, because our flying options have always been Konus's fly spell, since you upcast it automatically. So you kind of, by default, cast it on the whole party.
Just a short word of warning, the group invisibility is no longer an option for us.
That's what he... Yeah, I was trying to figure out what spell was he using that...
Yeah, I can still do it, but it's only for myself now.
Mm.
The trade-off is I can do it whenever I want to.
The question is, do we need it? Because, like, I have greater invisibility, which is the better option, and I can twin spell that one because it is never upcast to more people, so it is eligible for twin spell. So I could potentially concentrate on 2 people being greater invisibility, and that means you can cast an attack and do whatever while invisible, and it will not break invisibility. The only thing that would is if I take damage and lose concentration on the spell, or if I start concentrating on something else. Which I have a lot of concentration spells, because god damn it, there's a lot of concentration spells, especially higher up. But yeah, if we need invisibility, I can get 2 people invisible. So there's that.
Would there be any chance we could go shopping for some better armor?
Sure. I mean, you can go shopping in the Royal Manor's armory, and they'll probably give it to you. I don't think that you necessarily need to, you know...
If they have plate mail, I would love that. They have plated armor. Plate mail.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they can give you... Yeah, so put that on there.
Because that would be amazing, because that would up my armor class from 16 to 20. And that would be nice.
You only had 16?
I know, because my dex is so low, and I only had medium armor on and a shield. AC 14 plus stealth. My stealth is 0. The shield is plus 2. So I can get some better armor.
Yeah, 20 is an improvement. Makes you
harder
to hit.
We'll get some studded leather then.
But
17.
I don't use armor. I just have mage armor. I just cast mage armor. It's fine. It's level 1 spell. Does Dalencia look like, is she getting like into plate armor as well? Like what kind of?
Hold on one second. She probably is getting into armor.
Okay.
I don't think she's probably letting Lord Tobik give her equipment, and I'm sure that she can fight through training, but it's probably been a while since she's actively done much. At least to you, that's the way it seems. Crap.
I was just asking because I could twin spell mage armor on her, if not to give her that protection. But if she's got her own, then that works.
Yeah, she's gonna be wearing some nice heavy armor.
Yeah, because mage armor is just 13 plus dex, so. Which I think is the equivalent of studded.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. This is, yeah.
In-game prep.
This is going to be a little bit complicated, more complicated than I thought, or than what I was thinking about. So, and that means I need this other thing too. Let's see. Okay. Okay. All right. So, what you want is for Hubertus to, do a teleportation if possible, is what you're saying.
Or give us a teleportation scroll to go back. Well, yeah, no, it was the make it a scroll of teleport circle, so that we can use that to come back. Possibly just via the library one, which is still in the city. And that means that if we pick up anyone on the other side, no one's left behind.
Okay, so you don't want to use the one in the Abbey.
Oh, the Abbey, you're talking about the Abbey in the castle.
No, the actual Abbey in town has a teleportation circle.
I mean, that's fine. Yeah, the Abbey works. That way, if we have injured, they can be seen to immediately.
I mean, at this point, if you tell the queens what you think is best, Hubertus will do what you think is best. It's just a matter of what you're thinking it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense for me because, like, one, it means that even if we need to cast all our spells, we have a scroll to get back, and therefore, even if... I don't know what rules we're using for scrolls, but I believe we're using that, like, if anyone can read the scroll, they can cast it. And we have 3 casters, so even if one of us is unconscious or dead, the other one can still go back. So that means if we lose the casters that have the teleportation, means we're not stuck there and without a way to come back. Because it's just a scroll. So I think that's the safest way to ensure that we have a way back, both for ourselves, but also for the queen. So teleportation circle works to the abbey so that any injured can be treated or seen to immediately.
Okay.
We can't teleport circle there because we don't know the circle if of any circle there, but that's our way out, basically. And it looks like the other thing that would be needed to get there would be seeing if the queen has a tuning fork that is attuned to the soulspire. Because that's what's needed for plane shift.
You mean in terms of so in terms of knowing where to go.
Well, yeah, you can't. You need a tuning fork attuned to the plane that you want to go to for plane shift. That's the material component for the spell.
That's the fork that Imran was talking about.
Correct.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, does the castle have a tuning fork that is attuned to the soulspire and whatever plane that soulspire is on that we can use? Otherwise, how else was Dalencia planning to get to the soulspire?
Yeah,
Were you waiting for the bus?
Yeah, no, she was going to have Hubertus make a teleportation circle and have him take it there.
The teleportation circle requires you to know the access point, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
So they have a teleportation circle memorized from that is in the soulspire?
So, Dalencia has Dalencia, remember, has coordinates.
Oh.
Does that work? Okay, so the coordinates are enough for a teleportation circle spell?
At least she thinks so.
Okay. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
That works. It means we don't have to worry about our warlock using one of his spells. Very limited spell slot.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to post the Owlbear Rodeo link
Boy.
into the... You don't have to look at it yet because you're not there yet, but basically the idea is Hubertus is creating a scroll for you to use in case you need help getting back, and he's going to go to the Abbey with you, and he will tune that teleportation circle to the place that Dalencia tells him.
We don't we don't necessarily have to worry about using teleportation spells ourselves to get there.
Correct.
Right. Theoretically, if Dalencia is correct, if all of her teaching and family lore knowledge is correct, it will take you to the correct place, wherever she needs to go to fulfill this task that she has, basically. And I need to do two other things before I am ready to okay, so
Do we know anything about like the environment in the at the Soulspire? Like, will we need any kind of protection or anything when we get there?
So, Dalencia says that the so the thing about the Soulspire is that when you think of the Soulspire, it seems like a flowing, constantly moving area, not like a place. But when you go to where the kind of the place where souls are separated from the bodies, basically, and either given to the soul spires so that they can. So theoretically, what's supposed to happen is the person passes away, right? The individual passes away, and the Raven Queen is supposed to judge the soul, right? But the thing is that you go into the soul spire while you're waiting to be judged, right? And then you're judged. This is what Dalencia is telling you. And then you're judged, and you go to whatever plane is the plane that you're judged to belong to after death, right? Your soul belongs to. But there is a point in there where the soul has to be riven, right? It has to be separated from the spark of the soul, has to be separated from the actual mortal coil, right? Detached from the common plateau so that it can be assigned to whatever place, right? And then it goes into the soul spire. That place where that happens is a place. It's not just sort of this ethereal, weird thing in the middle of the soul spire. And that's where you're going. Okay? It's in a relatively unknown location, right? It's not like, oh, you're going to this library somewhere, or oh, you're going to you're going to go to the to your island that you came from, right? Or oh, you're going to go to the royal manor. It's a location that is kind of a pocket dimension of its own where this happens. And it has a name that I have to remind myself that I named it. Because it's a name you've heard. So if you hear Dalencia say it, it will sound familiar to you. I shoved all my stuff into a folder last week. And now I'm like, oh, now it's great. It's all in one place, except now it's just in a giant stack.
I did the exact same thing this week, Sam. All of my D&D stuff is now just in one spot, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I was like,
oh,
where's that paper? Oh, pros and cons.
Yeah, no problem. This is great. What could go wrong? Oh, did I take it out already? Is it? Oh. I probably took it out already. There it is. Yeah. I prepped and took it out already. Woo! It's called the Stone Road.
Stone Road to Long Walk.
So where you're going is the Stone Road.
Great.
And so you're going to take Lord Tobik, Queen Dalencia, the 3 of you, and then 4 of her elite guards. Is there anything else that you want to take?
Don't think so.
Is there any other equipment that you want to deal with?
I guess the question I still have is, where exactly are we sending Axley? Is he going to the library, or is he going to Allegrey Hammer, see what he can find out there?
That is up for the 3 of you to decide, I guess.
I am very curious about this Allegrey.
I think it might be more interesting if you went to see Allegrey and see what he can find out about
And everybody,
On this take.
we
Say
have
that
no
again,
clue.
Matt.
Do we know how long this, like, once we're there, how long Dalencia's errand? What she asked.
So it sort of depends, right? So basically, she's pretty sure that Blacksley is at the Soulspire, or at least at the Stone Road, where the beginning of the Soulspire is, and doing whatever it is that he's doing. And so she doesn't really know what he's doing all the way, right? So she can't really tell you how long it's going to take, because whatever he's doing, if it disrupts everything, she has to fix it.
Yeah, we told her that we believe that he is the soul of Cornelius Adrian, and that kind of gave her ideas. Yeah, we don't know how long it's going to take. It could take a couple hours.
Yeah.
Could take a couple days, but I'm betting on probably the hours.
I mean, they're not equipping her and packing a bunch of rations, right? Like they're assuming it's going to be relatively quick, and they'll either know that it's going to be fixable or everything's going to go wrong, and if it goes wrong, then they'll probably have to teleport out anyway and bring back more reinforcements or something. So in terms of that, it seems like she's expecting it to, right? But once they figure out everything, she might assess the situation and say, that we have to do some kind of ritual that takes hours, right? Like, you just don't know. You have no idea what's in her head. She's not really very forthcoming telling you anything. She's basically saying, I have to go.
Based on our other excursions, I'm kind of guessing less than a day, basically. Anywhere from an hour to almost a day. But if it's more than that, we'll probably have to head back anyways.
Right. Yeah, and she's not. I guess that, like I said, they're not like packing for a week-long trip. They haven't brought any rations. They're basically equipped up. They're armored up. They've got their weapons, and they've got a way to get back. And that's that. They're kind of packing light in terms of that, right? So, yeah. Okay.
But if we use teleportation circle, then I believe we can just have actually teleported to the Abbey, was it Abbey?
The Seminary of St. Abdar?
The Seminary of St. Abdar. And to have him basically speak with Allegra Hammer, figure out what he can do there, and then come back the same day. So basically same time frame as us.
Yeah, so you don't know you don't have coordinates to the seminary. All you know is the previous location was in the Great Dam Forest.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we had found any like teleportation circle information in the library when we were looking that up.
Not that you know, because remember all of the books by Allegra Hammond were not very informative. They were. Remember, Tefadis wrote all kinds of like recipe style books about, here's how we did this, and here's how we tried this, and here's what we did next, and here's what of that worked, and here's what didn't work, and it was very like instructive, and he was very interested in how to. It doesn't know what it wants to do. There it goes. Tefadis wrote books that were very instructive in terms of here's all the stuff we did and here were the results of it, so that people coming behind them could learn and not make the same mistakes or not waste time on the same things that didn't work. But Allegra Hammond, his books were more esoteric and not as easy to get through in terms of what is this trying to tell us. It was more, you're going to have to spend hours reading these to figure out what use this is. It was very, very academic, so and it wasn't, it didn't have any coordinates. All you know is where it used to be.
So if we send Axley, he'd have to go basically overland to where we think the Great Dam Forest is, and hopefully he finds it.
Well, so you could actually probably... You might be able to teleport him to where the Great Dam Forest is, but the actual seminary, he would have to search for it.
I feel like that's risky given we have no idea when that army's going to arrive. Because he'd have no quick way back, even if he was sending to the information that, hey, get back here. So I think our best option in that case would be to leave him in the library looking for information. On what? I'm not sure. I don't know what information else we needed.
I mean, he could search for exact coordinates. You didn't spend a lot of time looking for them.
He could search for exact coordinates, or just have him there with our crew basically and helping out in the blockade.
Mm-hmm.
Leave him as acting captain for the Haka and our army basically.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who else is like using the library? I don't think.
Gaston is.
Gaston and
his
Makoto.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And Makoto.
Fair.
I think it was just
Fair.
them plus us.
Okay.
Yeah, and that I would default to like having him help out with the blockade and the Haka, like acting as.
Okay.
So we don't have just Sharkface being the face of that group. Not that he's not doing a great job, but
Okay. Okay. All right. So, I need to take a 2-minute break. It's the night of breaks, and then we'll be ready to go. So, do we want to actually make this our regular break? Because it's technically the midpoint because we're now going to play from 6 to 10. So now it's 8 o'clock, 8:05, whatever. So let's take a 10-minute break. This will be our regular break.
okay.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody in the audience? We will be back in about 10 minutes. And we are back from the break. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so as I understand it, so what's happening is, why does it do that every time? Sorry, it keeps doing something weird with the. How is that? Okay, that looks right. So as I understand it, you all are ready to go through the teleportation process to go with Dalencia and some of her elite guards to the Stone Road.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So you do that, And so I am going to show the audience the owlbear radio screen. Oops. There we go. Maybe. How is that? Maybe not. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Oh, I see. Okay. It's positioned really oddly. That's okay. So you all can see the owlbear screen, correct?
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay. So you find yourself... Come on. That is not... Sorry, let me fix this real quick. How about that? Wow, that is really blurry. Okay. We might not show our audience much of a screen here. Okay, so let me try one last thing.
Weird how it looks so blurry.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. And when I change the size of it, it doesn't change the blurriness. It's like the feed is pulling it in blurry. It's very odd. I don't know. I can't get it to fix it. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. So let me do something else. Let's get rid of that.
What size is the, like, in the settings of what you brought in? Maybe that's too small. Like,
It's like my entire monitor, which is like 1920 by whatever. It's a high-res monitor.
the Owlbear Rodeo link is a public one. Maybe you could try importing a web, like a browser feed instead of
Right, I'm changing the type. That's exactly what I was going to do.
maybe that'll help.
I'm going to actually do... Let's see if this will let me do this.
I can never do that with Roll20 because you need to log in, but...
There we go.
Oh yeah, that looks a lot sharper.
Yeah. Move this around. Yeah, this is the same exact like resolution that I was supposed to have on it before, so I don't know what the heck it's doing that's so weird, but there it is. Now at least it looks like your people on a screen.
Instead of blurry blocks.
Yeah, that was really odd. Very odd. Makes no sense whatsoever. So there we go. Okay, so you teleport in and you find yourself in a cavern with a sinkhole directly behind you. So that's what you're looking at there in the lower left. Is a big sinkhole, and in fact it's so weak that as you sort of lean over to look down to see if you can see the bottom, you have that that sort of stereotypical, like a few pebbles fall down as you're looking down there, and you see them just kind of go down into the darkness. There are stalactites all over the ceiling. They are dripping water, so the floor of the cavern that you're in is a little tiny bit wet. There are also some stalagmites on the floor, and there's a couple of natural pillars in, let me see if I can pull up the pointer here. So, like this right here is a natural pillar, not just a rock, okay? This is a natural pillar, this is a natural pillar. So it's not something, in other words, that you could climb on, but it's something that you could hide behind. And these areas here that are sort of protruding out, those are the stalagmites, okay? There is a, looks like over in this area, this passageway out right here, looks like it sort of, it has an incline of some sort. However, you don't have a lot of time to investigate that, because as you teleport in, Lord Tobik, who is directly in front of Queen Dalencia, says to the entire group, on the lookout, there's movement. And as those words are being spoken, you see coming out from behind little outcroppings and various things, hidden behind some of these pillars are these creatures that are sort of these slathering, stinky, very thin creatures. That one would be there, that have sort of stepped out of the darkness and are drooling all over and sort of starting to shamble towards you. They are obviously undead of some sort, and they are aggressive. Now, you're not surprised, because when you came through this teleportation process, you knew there might be something very dangerous on the other side. So there is no surprise, but we do need to roll initiative. I rolled a 16.
Same.
24.
8.
I rolled a 9 for your allies. So it's going to go Konos, Immerin, creatures, allies, and then Marcel. Okay. Konos, you're up. You have just shaken off the odd sensation of teleporting, and you can see beyond Dalencia and Tobik there are creatures moving in the cavern towards you.
Okay. Then I'll start by casting Eldritch Blast, 3 shots, and I'm just going to split them up. So basically one at basically the one next to guard 1, the one 2 spaces to the right of guard 2, and the one that, basically the 3 that are closest to us. The one 2 spaces right of guard 3.
Let me label these real quick. So now they're numbered. Does that make it easier to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So 1, 2, and 5 will be the ones I'm shooting at.
Okay.
For the first one is a 14 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. For 11 points of force damage.
Okay.
The second one is a 17 to hit for 13 points of force damage.
Okay.
And the last one is a 16 to hit for 8 points of force damage.
Okay.
And I'll end my turn there.
Okay, so I put an orange ring on the ones that have been injured, just so that you can see that. So that's Konos. Immerin? You're muted.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I would like to destroy undead.
Okay.
If at all possible.
What does that do for you?
I'm trying to figure that out. Because
Is that a cleric?
It's a channel divinity.
It's a channel divinity.
yeah.
Okay.
But it just, the only thing it says in D&D Beyond is when an undead fails its saving throw against your turn undead featured, it is instantly destroyed if its CR is lower than the threshold for your level.
Okay, so
Now, what the saving throw is
It'll be the same as your spell save DC.
I would imagine wisdom saving then.
Yeah, it's like normally it's like turn. Yeah, it's the same as turn undead. It's just if they fail, they just go away permanently.
Okay.
Yeah, it's powered up turn undead because you're high level.
Yeah, so so the table is that since you're 14th or higher level, their CR, if their CR is 3 or lower, they're destroyed instead of turned.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. And so, do I make a save?
Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
I think it's a wisdom.
DC. It is DC 17 wisdom saving throw.
Okay. All right, so I'll start at the top. Number 1, rolled a 4, failed. Number 2, rolled a 13, failed. Number 3, rolled a 1, failed. Number 4, 14. What is it, 17?
17.
17, yeah, okay. 5, failed. 6, failed. Every single one of these, gone.
Nice.
That's what I was hoping.
Actually, yep. And the ones you didn't see yet are also gone.
Oh.
Yeah,
Cool.
Is it a 60-foot radius?
That's a good question, actually. Oh, within 30 feet.
That's
30
okay.
feet.
Okay. Yeah, you could still affect all of these. So all of these are going bye-bye. So tell me this, Imran. How does your destroy undead manifest to destroy these creatures?
Emerin just clutches her holy symbol and kind of like raises an eyebrow, and you just see them all like teeny tiny little like thunderclouds form above them and just like hit them with a lightning bolt, and they just disappear. And like there's like 6 or 7 different teeny tiny lightning clouds, and they all just kind of like get zapped and dissipate.
Nice.
Nice.
Lord Tobik turns to you and says, "Well done."
Thanks. That was fun.
Dalencia just smiles. So what would you like to do? So there is a passageway over to the side. Whoops. To the side here. And over here. Looks like there's an incline up. And I think that Lord Tobik will have the guards go unless you want to go first.
I think we're okay with them leading the way.
I would agree. There, apologies if I missed this, but is there like decent light in here, or is it pretty dark?
There's no light.
Okay.
So in fact, one of these guards, this guard right here, lit a torch so that he could see, so that she could see. They're all women. So that's what the yellow light or the yellow ring around it is.
Okay, perfect.
I'll cast dancing lights as well.
Okay.
So that'll do 4 torches in front and behind us. So 2 in
Okay.
front, 2 behind, so that It's only a 10-foot radius of dim light. So
Okay.
it's not as bright as the torch,
Okay.
but that gives us a bigger, something I can control, because I can move those forward up to like 60 feet ahead.
Okay. Are you going to move them down the passageway then?
Yeah.
Okay, so the passageway is actually a set of stairs going up. They are roughly cut into the stone. Need to check something real quick. And as the lights move up and as the couple of the guards move up, let me uncover some of this for you. You see that the sort of stairs come up and curve a little bit away. And these guards start filing up this area. Actually, the one with the light went, even though you've got your...
Yeah, I'll use my lights as a kind of scout up ahead.
Also, I want to cast Arcane Eye.
Okay.
So that creates a 30-foot, basically an invisible sensor that has normal vision and dark vision up to 30 feet. It can look in every direction, and I can move it up to 30 feet away from us, from way to me. There's no limit to how far away it can move, but it can't enter another plane of existence. It can't pass through solid barriers, but it can go through basically small cracks. So I'll basically just have that out about maybe 60 feet or so ahead of the frontmost guard.
Okay. As you're sending that out up in front, you hear the guard yell. A couple of the other guards start running up behind. Because this guard fell prey to my bad dice rolling and did not notice the pit that is here. And fell down the pit.
Oh no.
And this is why you get hirelings.
That's right. Okay, I need to make a save. Okay.
That pit looks like it has a spiky bottom.
Yes, it does.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let's see. I think I just numbered these 1 to 4, right? Yep, okay. Number 2 fell in. And also then failed their save. Okay. The other 2 guards rush up and try to help said guard out of the pit. They do put a python in the door so that you can see where the opening is. They can easily take the python out so that they can go by it, or they can try to python it closed. But the question is, do you want to leave it so that another fleeing creature could accidentally trigger it, or do you want to stabilize it and make sure it stays closed?
We have no need of coming back this way because our exit is via magic. So perhaps getting past it and resetting the trap would possibly work in our favor. Unless we're the ones fleeing from something else and not.
Like you said, why would we be coming back this way?
The only reason I can think of is if we're attacked by something and we need to retreat.
Sure.
But I don't know how likely that is.
I think it's okay to reset. I think we'll be alright.
Yeah, just leave it.
And if not, just remember it's here and potentially look out for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so everyone can easily make their way past it.
Okay.
The question is, what kind of marching order do you want? Do you still want to send the guards forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Though we have the sensor for the arcane eye first, 60 feet in front of the guards.
Mm-hmm.
We have the dancing lights between the guards and the arcane eye. Then the guards, then Tobik, and then the rest of us with Dalencia. We don't want to leave Dalencia at the back just in case something somehow shows up behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a really creepy eye.
Isn't that creepy?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Konos did put it on there, right? So.
Yeah.
That's on brand for me. Yeah.
So go ahead and roll me a perception check for everyone.
Cat, you can't just sit on the area I'm going to be rolling dice. It makes it really hard to roll dice.
Untrue.
21.
Okay.
12.
18 plus 5, 23.
Konos and Marcel hear lots of shuffling and odd noises in the room beyond this stairway. Also some nasty chomping kind of noises.
Do you want to send the arcane eye since it's invisible?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Let's go check
We'll
that out.
signal to the guards to stop. And just quiet. As quiet as guards can be. Wearing, I assume, something like plate armor.
Yeah, they're not very quiet. So in this room are... Darn it. There we go. Several more of your good friends, the nasty undead hungry things. They are clustered around a couple of piles of bones, and they are gnawing on said bones. And there's also a bigger one in this corner.
Okay.
So you see 6 more of these nasty, ugly things.
Okay. I'll let everybody know that there's more trouble up ahead.
What do you recommend?
Amarin, how many times can you do that destroy thing? 2 more? Or
Do it
2?
twice per short rest. So I have 1 more.
Okay. We might want to hold on to that.
I was going to say I have other things I can do with it, though.
Yeah.
I think we can... Are there, places we can kind of hide and sneak if the 3 of us... Well... Well, maybe not.
No, doesn't look like there's too many hiding places in there.
Then we could all step back into the previous room and make some clamor to see if we can lure some of them into that pit.
Good idea.
Funnel them
See
into
if it
the
fits in that way. Yeah.
into the tunnel. That's not a bad idea because then we can snipe them as they come,
Mhm.
and not have them mob the guards.
Right. It'll take a minute to backtrack because we'll have to reset the it so we can get across and then retrap it. But
Yeah, so we can put the guards, basically place the guards here, and we can wait here to range any that actually start climbing out of the pit.
mhm.
So we'll back up back to this area.
So you're going back to the original room?
Yeah, we're gonna try luring them down the hallway so that they're coming in single file and have to cross the pit area.
Okay.
So we'll put the guards on where Tobik and Dalencia are, and back up the rest of us, so that the guards act as a
Sort of like this.
yeah.
Okay, and what are you going to do to lure them out?
Noise.
Okay.
And I'll also
I mean,
cast.
just go for it.
Oh, I was going to cast like silent image and just make like a version of myself appear like somewhere in sight of them, and then just start moving backwards, or is it to try to lure them back as well?
Okay. I think you
Just thinking
can.
swords against shields, basically. Just
Yeah, so you can easily do that. So, you're probably going to have 3 of them follow you back. Maybe even 4 of them. So here's the thing, is that, the guard then is going to have to fight them. So...
I mean, we're holding spells for as soon as we see them. If they do not fall in the pit, we're shooting them.
Yeah, they're not going to fall in the pit.
Interesting. Okay.
I rolled a 20 on their perception check.
Fair.
They just jump over it. I see.
Yeah, they happen to just shuffle the right way to not let it pivot in.
What?
So, go ahead and roll. Somebody roll me a d20.
Boy.
$12.
Okay. Roll another one for me.
Okay. 20.
Yeah. So, these 2 guards right here can easily wipe out all 4 of these nasty,
Oh, cool.
ghoulish, horrible things, because you funneled them into a place where they had nowhere else to go, and they could only attack probably one at a time. So, the Queen's Elite Guards are no joke, even though one of them accidentally fell into the pit. They're actually pretty good.
I mean, they have us backing them up as well with
Right.
slinging spells between them.
Right.
So
Yeah. So, so now you have a room here with, by the way, this large undead thing has armor on.
Okay, well, we cleaned out most of them. Surely we can take the others.
So these will all move forward. The question is, are you going to send the guards in to do the fighting, or are you going to go in yourselves? Or both?
I'd say both. We'll send the guards up
Yeah.
front to keep them occupied and back them up like we did before.
Okay. That one runs into the room with the torch. None of them run up to the large one.
That's fair.
They're not crazy. But roll me 2 d20s.
I'll do one.
I'll do one.
Oh,
5.
God. 5.
Roll again. They get 2 attacks.
Okay.
1.
18.
So roll me some damage, Matt.
Okay. What am I rolling?
It's going to be 1d10.
Okay.
Oh, no, I take that back. Sorry,
2.
2d6.
2d6, okay. 8.
Okay, so... Oops. Okay. They did not kill them. And so I think we need to roll initiative. They were actually a little bit surprised because they thought that the person that they thought they would take care of whatever noise was happening. I rolled a 19.
I got a 10.
14.
My dice are rolling garbage.
Nina, what did Imran get?
Sorry, 10.
Okay. I rolled a 17 for the queen. So 19 for the creatures, 17 for the queen. Who got the 14?
I did.
Konos. And then who has a better dex, Imran or Marcel?
Marcel.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the creatures get to go first. This first creature right here is going to attack the elite guard. The elite guard has an armor class of 18. These poor fools. This is such a... They're like sitting ducks. All right. Yeah, nope. And nope. So that's not a hit. The second one's going to attack guard number 4. Nope and nope. And then this large one comes forward. And that large one is going to attack guard number 2. Ooh. And hits twice. Okay. Guard 2 is already hurt. Ooh. You see this thing slice at guard 2 and hit guard 2, and then it leans in and it takes a huge chunk out of guard number 2's neck, and guard number 2 just falls to the ground. Dead.
That's not good.
And then it is the guard's turn, so go ahead and roll me a d20 for their attacks versus the little ones. Just see if they can take those little ones out.
5.
I got a 12 and a 4.
Okay, the 12 is going to hit.
You said 2d6.
I got a 5 and a 3rd.
All you need is a 12 to hit, so.
Yeah, I got a 13 on one of them.
Yeah, and the damage
So,
is
7.
2d6. Yeah.
11.
Okay.
Almost maxed.
So that one goes away. And this one is still up. Oops. And then it is Konos' turn.
Okay, that big one needs to go away. I'm going to cast Banishment on it.
Okay.
And actually, I can target the one last. I might as well target the last ghoul as well, because I can target 2 creatures with this now.
Okay.
So they need to make charisma saves, please.
Okay.
Is Arcane Eye concentration?
It is, so it'll go away.
Okay.
But I can cast it at will.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the little ghoul gets a negative because it has a negative to its charisma, so it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Whoop. The big one.
18's the DC.
Okay. The big one. Okay. Oh. I rolled a 3, so it's gone.
Okay.
It had a decent chance of
So just like a little.
I'm sorry.
Okay, good to know. So it's like effectively, it's like a little whirlpool just opens up underneath their feet and it just gets sucked in. But they'll be back in a minute, so we have to go.
Okay.
So we should move.
Okay.
They kind of go, and as they're getting sucked down the whirlpool. Okay, so you lost your arcane eye, and you lost one of the elite guards. Tobik is down administering any help that she can give, and there really is none. So they kind of delivered what amounts to the last rites. And the queen says, "We can't leave the body here."
All right. I guess I can carry it.
Okay. Let me... This would have been... Okay. Let's put, here's where we go. Multicolored with the rings here. That's the dead one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and so let's so this passageway slopes up again, up into this direction. There is, by the way, a ton of just gnawed on bones, some nasty, like, horrible, dirty pieces of cloth, blood stains on the ground. I mean, it's really disgusting. This is not a good place to be.
Quite the atmosphere I expected.
Yeah. Well, Dalencia either. This was not how it was described to her as the way that things work here. You hear actually, you don't hear anything. What you see is the passageway moves up, and there is an intersection. So the guard with the light will go first. This intersection has 4 different directions you could go in. So then the question is, which way do you go?
If we stand at the intersection, can we see down them?
You can see a little bit. The area in here is obscured, but it smells really disgusting, and what you do see has a lot of flesh and bones, pretty disgustingly gnawed on. This passageway to the north here seems to be more stairs up. And same with this one to the east.
Well, I'd say either of the northern ones.
Yeah.
Shall we try the right-hand side first? Try to keep a hand on the right wall?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. Move this over a little bit. So as the guards move up here, this area opens into a larger chamber. And there is the smell of brimstone and sulfur. There is also a polished wooden coffin in an alcove to the west, with a desk and a nice comfortable chair with a low table. And then over to the right, or to the east in this case, there is just a pile of what looks to be furs and blankets and tapestries. And there does not appear to be... Actually, let me check that first. Yeah, there does not appear to be anybody in here. Oh no, I take that back. What? Oh, my notes, I can't read them. I'm so discombobulated today. I apologize. There is no one in here. There's no person in here. There's nothing else in here that you can see. But you can give me a perception check.
Oh,
23.
6.
6 and 23. Konos, you think that you hear a faint growling noise, like a dog growling.
Can I tell where it's coming from?
It sounds like it's coming down the hallway to the north. To the north of this big room.
Again, I'll let everybody know there's something ahead of us. We may want to either try to move quietly or take the other path.
Do you want me to go check it out? It could be one of the dogs you're looking for.
Ooh, yeah. Good point. Yeah.
It might be one of Dalencia's kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to... Does anyone want invisibility? Because it's now or never.
Are we all going? Because I have disadvantage on stealth.
I could... Okay, so greater invisibility does only last for 1 minute. So I could twin spell it to Konos, and the two of us can go check it out. Konos, you have dark vision, right?
I do. I've got, true sight.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
even
probably
better
a
than
better
dark vision.
option.
Okay.
Because of the rope.
Right. Do I have dark vision? Apparently not. Okay. Great. Thought I had dark vision. God damn it. All right.
Wah wah.
So I can't concentrate on 2 spells, but I can still cast. You just have to lead me if we're going together, just so that you're not alone in case something
Okay.
happens before the rest get to us. So I'll cast Greater Invisibility, and I will. So this is a 4th level spell, and go to the spell's level. So that's 4. 2 firm and cast. All right, so we're both invisible. And we can sneak.
Konos and
Konos and Marcel
Okay.
are both invisible. And now we'll sneak forward. Honestly, I can stay at the edge of the light because the light is I think it's what 20/20, 20 bright, 20 dim from the torch.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that where I'm at right now is the end of the dim light of the torch. I'll stay here and basically watch. Well, I can't watch Konos, but I'll be closer to Konos, if anything.
Okay. So what are you going to do then? You're just going to wait there, or?
I'll wait, and then Konos, you can go up ahead. You're invisible now, and see what you can find out.
Yeah, I'll try to quietly scout ahead forward.
Because you're still concentrating on the banishment spell.
The banishment, yeah. Yeah. The problem is that only lasts a minute, so they could pop back up right behind us, or behind everybody else, I mean.
Yeah. Well, the visibility also lasts a minute, so you only have so long before you're visible too. So make it quick.
When you say it like this, everyone, it just sounds like nothing lasts very long at all.
No?
Well, that's the problem with greater invisibility. See, invisibility lasts, I think, like 10 minutes or an hour. I don't remember. I think it's 10 minutes.
An hour.
An hour.
It's an hour.
And greater lasts for a minute.
And greater's just a minute, but you can, attack things while still invisible.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Konos is going to go up this passageway where he heard the dog growling. Is that what I'm hearing, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
He's the one with true sight anyway, so.
Yeah. Let me just uncover this. Real quick.
Oh boy, it goes for a long while.
Yeah, it's pretty far. I'll
just try to quietly make my way up and keeping my eyes and ears open.
So, when you sort of round this corner, I need to make a perception check here. Because you still smell, even though you're invisible. You round the corner sort of silently, and you see that this room opens into a larger area.
Yep, there it is.
And these two braziers that look lit in the picture are not lit. But the dog doesn't look like it looks like on the token. It's actually one of those big spiky, demonic looking, very sort of relatively skinny, but with spikes. It has spikes around the neck. It has spikes going all the way down the back. It has spikes coming off of the elbows, which actually on dog are the ankles. So yeah, that's what it looks like. This one does happen to be red, though. It's not the sort of opalescent or multicolored or beige kind that you've been seeing before. It's also not a statue. And Konos, as you enter the room, it turns around and it sniffs the air.
Meanwhile, I'm sending a message and going, so what's up ahead? Is it one of your pups?
Yes, I as quietly as I can, I respond back, yes, and I think it smells me.
Good.
Knew I should have taken a shower before we came.
We just haven't had time.
I know, and just still smelling seawater.
I'm gonna look behind and motion to the others to come forward. Nope, because they can't see me.
They can't see you.
I will send another message to Tobik and let them know that there is a demonic dog up ahead.
Now, can he talk? Or can she talk back?
Yeah, you can reply. Yeah.
Okay. She says, "Do you want assistance?"
I'll send another message. This is once per turn, so if the dog is doing anything, like each message is once per turn thing. Okay. I don't know yet. I'll send another message to Konos. What do you want to do about the dog?
I'm just trying to remember how I dealt with the last one.
That's a good.
I know, because that was a long time ago.
Didn't you just like touch it and went, "You're free now" or something, and it just like got absorbed into the trident?
I know I absorbed it. I just don't remember what I did to do it.
I think you just touched it. But that one was telling you to free it. This one's not.
Yeah. All right. I will use telepathy to try to communicate it with it and say, "Do you want to be set free of this place?"
What language do you speak that in?
Oh. I'll just common.
It does that weird, that thing dogs do where it tilts its head like it's listening to something, and it kind of like, and it sniffs a couple more times, and it takes like 2 steps forward, and it's kind of warily trying to suss out what's going on. But it does not answer you telepathically.
I can smell you. I know you're there.
Yeah, I mean, if it understands at least one language, it says I can communicate to it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a shared language. Cool. I'm looking at the wording of tongues. I guess that wouldn't work with telepathy, would it?
No. I mean, so you have every reason to believe it understood you.
Okay. But it's not like reacting.
But it's not reacting, and it did not respond with its own, in its own language. It's just sort of, what?
I'll try again. Like, are you here by yourself, or are there others of your kind here with you?
And you also do that in common?
Yes.
It says, I'm with the Alpha. Are you more troops?
Yes. We're no longer needed to. You are no longer needed to guard this place. Go back to the Alpha.
Roll a deception check.
Okay. 14.
It sniffs, and then it runs off down the hallway this way. Turns out there's a hallway over there.
Okay.
Off this way.
Okay. Before I head back, can I really quickly just check out like the area it was sitting in?
Yeah, so this area here is a set of candles that are not lit. I know the picture makes them look lit. They're not lit, but it is sort of a half circle of candles. Up in this northwestern corner, there is a little altar, and this statue that's on it is a statue of a dog, not a statue of whatever it's supposed to look like on here. There is blood. There's also a bowl next to it, and there's blood in the bowl, just like on the picture. And there is a sort of ceremonial dagger next to it. There are 2 braziers here flanking these steps, but the braziers are not actually lit.
I'll take the dagger and the statue if it's big enough or if it's small enough to carry.
The statue is, even though it's on top of the altar, it's still like 5 or 6 feet
pretty
wide
sizable.
and 5 or 6 feet tall. I mean, you could probably, with your strength, you could probably pick it up, but it's going to be a little unwieldy to carry around.
Yeah, my strength's 21, but if it's that big, I'll just leave it where it is.
Yeah. You
I will
could
take the
easily
dagger though.
lift it, but yeah, it would be tough to.
Okay. Do those candles resemble the 12 or 13 that we've been carrying around in a box that we kind of learned were like had some bad juju with them?
Yeah, so those candles that you're carrying around, they were black with the eye symbol scrolled into them, right?
Yeah.
That's the same as these.
Oh boy. Okay, I'll leave those there because those are pretty nasty as I recall. I will make my way back to the others and report in and say, well, I think I tricked it into leaving, but there are more of them. Including probably somewhere else, including an alpha. So this might be a chance to deal with that problem once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
So is the minute up? The minute for the banishment has probably come up by now.
Mm-hmm.
Before that came up, I would probably just message the group to at least come into the room where Marcel was, so that they're out of the immediate hallway where the big guy was going to show up.
Yeah, they all got in. I'm assuming Imran did too. I moved Imran.
Yeah, and shortly after that, Konos and Marcel show up again.
Okay.
I want to investigate the
coffin.
Not the coffin.
I'll do it. Okay.
The desk. Really don't want to touch the coffin. I do want to know what's in the desk, though. On whatever.
There are some notes and most of them are notes that are just explaining or describing numbers, and it's kind of weird, but keeping time. But one of them is a letter from Laralac that says basically, speed it up, we're almost ready, and there have been some disruptions, so hurry, and then meet us back at the rendezvous point. And the letter is...
Does it say where
The letter is addressed to Betet.
Oh.
Oh boy. Okay. We need to move fast. This doesn't look good. Whatever they're planning to do here, they're almost done. Yeah, I think we're on the right track though, so we should probably keep going this way.
Sure.
Let's go. If this is the like sleeping area of whoever is in charge here.
Does it say where the rendezvous point is on that letter?
It does not.
Okay.
But the way it's written, it's pretty clear that there is a predefined designated spot.
Which means unless they're done, they may not. At least Laralac may be still waiting for this, whatever this guy's doing here, to finish. So let's make sure he doesn't finish.
Yeah.
Let's storm the castle.
So one of the guards says, "Shouldn't we look in the coffin?"
Probably not.
What?
I mean, if we find something in it, we can defeat it. If we leave it behind, if there's something in it, it will be behind us.
She does have a point.
I mean, yes. Yeah. But also...
And there's no bed here, so that's probably that's probably like the resting place of whoever.
Yep. I mean, on the other hand, there's a pretty big statue a little ways up ahead. We could just use that to weigh it down. Make sure if there is something inside it, make sure it doesn't get out.
So roll a roll a history check.
Okay. Okay.
Well, to see if you think vampires are weaklings.
24.
So you know that vampires can turn to mist and move through very thin places.
Yeah.
So putting a giant statue on the coffin isn't really gonna. If there is indeed a vampire in there, it will not stop it from getting out.
Yeah, let's just open it up. This
all right.
Out in there would have already attacked us anyway. I think we've made enough racket in here to wake up a vampire.
To wake the dead.
Okay.
So the question is, who's going to open the coffin then?
I'll do it, but I'm going to cast protection from good and evil on myself first.
Okay.
That's a good plan. I'm going to hold a sacred flame to see if anything comes out and attacks Konos.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'll hold an Eldritch Blast.
Okay. So, like, left hand on the bottom of the lid, right hand holding the trident, a ball and ready to just stab, and then flip the lid open.
Okay. The coffin is empty except for a small velvet bag.
Is it poopery?
No.
Just make the coffin smell
They
better.
If they were going to use that, you'd think they'd put it in the big pile of stinky furs in the corner.
I mean, that's why they'd need it inside their sleeping bed, right? just to like waft off the smell of the.
Yeah.
Right. I'll take a look at the velvet bag.
Okay. Inside, it has a pair of gold and ruby cufflinks, a pendant with a big ruby on it that has been set into a symbol that looks like the eye symbol. It's on a gold chain. And a pair of gold bracelets that have symbols scrawled into the underside of them. And
No
some
amethyst.
some numbers.
Numbers.
And you
Numbers, do they
you
resemble
recognize the numbers.
Oh boy.
What numbers are they?
They are. Where's my. You made me misplace my numbers. I mean, my papers again. What did I do with it? The numbers are 357997536174.
3579.
97536174.
6174 is the most common one. Oh shit, that's the one by Vatimek Omnia. Where else is it?
Is it 3579?
Yeah,
Yeah.
3579. That's the only place I see that sequence.
One shard to concentrate after that one.
Also, 357997536174 is the set of numbers that were tattooed onto the Queen's arm.
Oh, okay. I will mention that to the Queen. Say this seems to be appearing in other places besides just yourself.
Well, judging by the condition of this place not being what I thought, it appears someone else found out how to get here. Perhaps that's how they kept track.
Well, let's keep going then.
I'll keep all this.
Okay.
Onward.
So, are you going to... Is everyone going to go up to the room up in the top? Or are you going to leave people standing guard, I guess is the question.
I think we should all go together.
Yeah, I don't think we want to split up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because who knows what could be circling back behind us.
Okay, so everybody goes up to the room up north. Whoops. And now you all see what Konos saw, which is a half circle of those candles with the symbols in them. 2 unlit braziers flanking the top of a set of 3 steps, which has an alcove at the top of it that has an altar of some sort with a statue of one of those dogs with all of the spines on it, and a little bowl that has some blood in it.
Hey, Konos? What if that statue is one of yours? Golem
The queen
says
says, "What do you mean, one of yours?"
Well, we've been encountering these dog-like creatures in everywhere we've been seeing Larolak's presence, and also in other planes, on other plateaus. They all seem to be lesser creatures bound to a much larger one. And they also seem to be connected to Bolem here.
That's not good news.
Yeah.
This altar is a desecration of the soulspire.
I don't think the dogs were here. I think they're against their will. Didn't we think that the souls within the dogs were the children of Dalencia?
Are you asking me? Kronos.
I mean, I'll be honest, I honestly don't remember. Because it's been so long in my notes, I don't know if they go back that far.
Well, Volem said that they were his siblings. And we know that Volem is a child of Dalencia, so that's kind of the conclusion that I had come to, at least, that it's possible that these dogs are where the children are sealed in.
Yeah. Then, because we essentially had turned one to stone. So yeah, I'll take Bolin and I'll just touch the statue with it and see if there's any reaction.
Roll me a Constitution saving throw.
Oh yeah, that happened last time too. see this. See when you've been playing a campaign that goes on for a long time, you forget a lot of things.
Yeah.
To be fair, at least this time you're not dying like last time you did this.
Well, we'll see because I rolled a 7.
Um,
I don't know if protection from good and evil is going to give me any benefit here, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, go ahead and roll as if you had advantage.
Okay. Would you believe I got the same thing? So, 7.
You're destined to take this damage.
You take 24 points of damage.
Ow.
But
what kind?
Psychic damage.
Oh, I have resistance to that.
Oh, so you take 12. So as that's happening, the reason, so what happens is the statue does that weird kind of turning whirlpool-y thing, as if the material itself is kind of like fluid, although it's still a solid statue. So simultaneously it looks like a solid statue sitting there, but also that it is turning into fluid and spinning around almost like a whirlpool and getting sucked into Bolem. And as it comes into Bolem, that's when you take the damage. So you're sort of just taking damage as the thing is entering Bolem. And then when it's done entering Bolem, the statue itself is that what was the statue is gone, and you stop taking damage.
Okay.
So
the statue is physically gone.
The statue is physically gone now.
Okay.
Hey, look, I was right.
And Bolem turns red.
Oh.
That's new.
You all right in there?
No answer. But that doesn't actually surprise you, because every time you've gone plane hopping, Bolem hasn't been able to come with you.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Is it like coral red or is it like demon red?
Yeah, like demon red.
Okay. Cool. Not concerning at all.
I gotta look something up real quick.
Well, we did Didn't Volum say there was one of those dogs on each plane?
Yeah, but the one I saw said it was here with the alpha, so there's at least 2 more here.
Those
Could
probably
be
are
that
another
they're all
type of dog too. Those could be actually
they
like, you know whose kids instead.
Oh, yeah.
You know who might
Or
be the alpha.
Yep.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I just watched Up a couple nights ago, and so I'm expecting if we meet the alpha, it's going to have a high pitched squeaky voice. Sorry, Sam. Hey, Alpha, your voice sounds funny.
I make no guarantees.
Well, that's part of your quest, isn't it, Konos? That's a good thing that you did that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, what's down these 2 corridors we haven't explored yet?
Which one did the dog go down?
This one.
Top
Oops.
one?
The dog went down this one.
Okay.
Let me make sure you don't hear anything. You hear an odd sound that sounds like it sounds like a pulley being worked, like there's a wheel with a rope on it acting as a pulley, and it's a little bit squeaky, but when you hear it, you kind of hear it turning around. You know what I'm saying? That's what you hear.
That's coming down the same hallway?
It's coming from this hallway to your left, down this hallway here.
Okay.
This is now steps
Oh, and that
down.
other place.
Yeah, down here.
Okay. Well, I could try Arcane Eye again and try to get some more information about what's up there.
Okay.
All right. I will send it ahead.
Okay. The Arcane Eye goes not very far, and it runs into a choice. There's a northern passageway and a southern passageway.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we can let everybody know we got another fork ahead.
Which direction is the sound coming from?
The sound distinctly sounds like it's coming from the south.
South. Okay. Do you want to send it to check out what that is all about?
Yeah, I'll send it down that way.
Okay, so let me uncover a bunch of this and then tell you what you see. So, what you see is let me add some things to here also. You see a very uneven shaped cavern. There are a ton of stalactites hanging down from the ceiling, and also several coming up from the floor. Although they're not meeting to form pillars, there's some coming up from the floor and some coming, these weird formations, right? Stalactites, stalagmites. There is a deep crevice, big trench in the middle of the room that is filled with a strange black substance, and it kind of moves and almost roils as if something is swimming around in it. There is there's a contraption going from one end of the deep crevice to another. The crevice is very long. It's about 60 or 70 feet long. And there's a contraption, a frame set up on each end. And there's a rope pulley system strung between the two ends so that you can put something in a container, in this case a cage, and you can work the pulleys and push the cage out so that it's above the middle of the center of the big crevice filled with black stuff. And you see, the arcane eye sees, there is some sort of a table towards the southern wall. There is a man standing next to the table, and he is there are also two of those dog things in here, the red ones like Kono saw before, and there are a couple of ghouls. One of the ghouls is standing next to Blacksley, and one of them is down at the southern portion of the room and working the pulley system to move the small cage out into the middle of the room. And the small cage has a humanoid figure in it. And as the cage is being wheeled out into the center, it's sort of hanging on these ropes. And as it gets towards the center, it's heavy enough that it sort of sags in the middle because it's just a couple of ropes that are holding it. And as the cage sort of sags down, the black gooey stuff sort of kind of surges up to grab onto the bottom of the cage, and the individual in the cage starts yelling. So you all actually hear that down. You hear that down the hallway, and the arcane eye sees there is a sort of smoky colored, white colored mixture of steam smoke coming out of the individual. And as it comes out, the person that's in the back of the room holds up like a little container, and the smoky stuff starts wafting towards the container and goes into the container, and the person puts a lid on it and sets it on the table. And that's where we'll end today's session.
What?
All right.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Oh no. And Blacksley's in there?
Blacksley is in there, yeah.
Was he doing anything or just standing there?
There was a ghoul next to him. He was not doing anything otherwise.
Just chilling around.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
Cool.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go back to the regular screen.
I'm not sure what we have, but if we have it.
Whatever it is, we have a lot of it.
Yeah, you have, yeah. So there were two of the dogs in there. Blacksley was in there, at least two ghouls, and the person, the humanoid person that had the container.
Looks like that's what we have to stop, whatever they're up to. Didn't sound very good.
Suppose.
Great. Looks like we'll have combat next session. Like actual combat.
Actual combat. Yeah, I mean, you had combat this time too. You
Yeah.
just happen to have a cleric that's like, nah, pshing.
We just happen to have some very, very handy spells for dealing with things.
I was excited. I haven't got to do that in a long time.
And then you had banish, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to destroy undead,
I
and you
also
got to
prepared
banish.
that.
Banish is fun.
Banish is fun.
Although one of the elite guards did die, so that's that's a loss.
Yep. Another one got injured.
Mm-hmm.
No, the injured one's the one that died. The other three are fine.
Oh.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we have 3 that are intact, and yeah, we'll be fine.
Tobik.
Bonus, do
Hopefully
you
we
want
don't.
healing before we do this?
Yeah, so you're I mean there's I mean it depends on there's probably
would
not
Emran-
time to rest, but if you want to cast healing spells, you can do so.
Yeah, while we were waiting for Konos's eye to explore, you probably had time to cast something to heal him.
Yeah, who are you healing?
I'm healing Konos for 8 hit points.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have 8 hit points.
Thank you.
left. Yeah, just so I feel like you might take a lot of damage in here specifically. So
Yeah. Before running into this, I'm going to cast glibness on myself.
What does that do for you?
Apparently, it makes me a very, very smooth talker. It says until the spell ends, when you make a charisma check, you can replace the number you roll with a 15. This is my 8th level Mystic Arcanum.
Right.
Additionally, no matter what you say, magic that would determine if you are telling the truth indicates you are being truthful.
Nice.
So basically, I'm immune to Zone of Truth, and anytime I make a charisma check for anything, it's going to be very, very high.
So you're planning on not fighting? You're planning on talking?
Oh no! I'm planning on fighting. The benefit from the high charisma is going to come in from other things.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, you never know, right? I mean, the person who captured the whatever in the container seems like an intelligent individual, right? That's a
yeah.
He looked kind of old and wrinkly, but still an intelligent humanoid.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this
Wrinkly
way.
just means he has more spells on hand.
Yes, exactly.
Well, let's put it this way. If basically, this might give me an edge in some of that.
Okay, sounds
At
good.
least I'm hoping.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it for today. So tune in a couple of weeks, and you'll see the climax of what's going to happen here and who the old wrinkly man at the end of the trolley is. Otherwise, say goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.